moments in life that quietly or suddenly change everything. A diagnosis, a loss, a decision you didn't expect to make. And once that moment happens, the real question becomes, then what? Welcome to Change Happened, Then What? A storytelling podcast about the moments that shape us and the lives we build after them. Each episode brings you a real story told with honesty and care, where everything was questioned and where even then they chose to keep moving forward. This isn't an interview show. It's a place for real stories shared thoughtfully, sometimes messy, sometimes hopeful, but always human. I'm your host, Heather Holt, and I'm so glad you're here. Before we begin, I want to invite you into something I'm doing called the Changed Me Community Drawing. Stay tuned to the end of the episode to find out how you can enter into our monthly drawing for a super cozy Change Happened trucker hat or a super soft tee. Now, let's dive in. Today, I want to share a story that truly inspired me. I first heard Rachel's story while listening to one of my favorite podcasts, one that explores the idea of the two lives that we live, the one before everything changes and the one after. Rachel was one of their final guests before the show signed off. From the moment I heard her speak, I was struck. Our circumstances were different, but our stories felt deeply familiar. Both of us are women living with facial asymmetry after benign tumors. Different paths, different outcomes, but the same quiet struggle of learning how to see ourselves again. Hearing Rachel speak so openly about her experience really struck me, because if I'm honest, it's something I'm still wrestling with. So I took a chance. And I reached out to her. If nothing else, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for being brave enough to share your story out loud. Thank you for putting words to something so many of us live with silently. And when I asked Rachel if she would allow me to share her story with you, she said yes. Today, I'm honored to introduce you to Rachel Stone, Canadian author of award-winning novel The Blue Iris, a work of fiction woven with threads of her own life experience. The book has received widespread critical acclaim, including the 2025 International Book Award for General Fiction and recognition from the New York City Big Book Awards. Rachel is a wife, she's a mother, and she's a survivor of medical trauma. But most of all, she's a woman who chose to turn pain into a story, and story into hope.
It was the pictures from senior prom where it was sort of like in the photographs, you went, is your eye swollen? You know, I think my mom, is your eye swollen? What's going on? Like, it just looked a little bit different, not even really noticeable in person so much, just kind of in those pictures. And that's weird. And then it sort of seemed like it got a little worse. And I guess over like the next year or so, I kind of mentioned it at one point to my doctor, like, something's weird, and maybe I don't know, kind of puffy or something. And, you know, at that point it was like, do you have an allergy? Is it time to throw away your makeup? Is it your pillow? Like, you know, just all those sort of questions. And so it really hit out of left field. I remember getting the call. I was working at the flower market, and I got the call to come into the doctor's office right away, which, you know, I've been sort of older and wiser enough to know that when they call you and tell you to come in right away, it's usually it's
not
a whole
good.
other thing. Yeah, it's usually not throw away your pillow. So so that sort of set off a turning point in my life, and it was sort of the day that nothing really felt the same after that. You know, you do have this happy-go-lucky moving along your life, and you're invincible, and you're 19, and life is good, and suddenly you're sitting in the surgeon's office, and they don't know what it is, and there's a mass there, we don't know what it is, and we don't know how it's going to go, and all these potential risks, and all these things. That was a dark period for sure. But it worked out well. I got the tumor removed, and the results came back. It was extremely rare. It wasn't the sort of tumor that they thought, but it was a very rare solitary fibrous tumor in my orbit, and thankfully it was benign, thank God, and they sort of sent me on my way.
I want to pause here for just a second, because I want to make sure you really heard what Rachel said. What began as something that looked like a swollen eye turned out to be a rare, benign tumor called a solitary fibrous tumor growing in her eye socket. These tumors are uncommon and typically slow growing. They form from connective tissue, and while considered benign, can cause serious problems depending on where they're located. In Rachel's case, the tumor was growing behind her eye, creating pressure and discomfort. And this is where our stories collide. Like Rachel, I also had a rare, slow-growing tumor inside my head, a vestibular schwannoma, sometimes called an acoustic neuroma. It affected my 7th and 8th cranial nerves, along with my vestibular nerve. Different names, different locations, but the same quiet reality of being told something rare and life-altering is happening inside our bodies.
I'm the worrier of the group usually, and I'm asking, okay, but is it gone? Like, did you get it all? But what happens next? And the doctor's sort of saying, "Cool, like you're good. You're good. You're 20 years old. Like you're fine. It's great. It's just a blip. It's benign. Be happy. Move on," kind of thing. And I was like, "But really though? But what if it comes? Like, is it going to come back? Like, what if we didn't get it all?" And had all these sort of, the worrywart questions and the what if. He said, like, it's very, very rare that we're ever going to have to deal with this again. And if we did, it'd be worst case scenario. It's not coming back. If we did, we'd have to be much more invasive and much more aggressive. But don't worry about it. It's fine. And, so sure enough, I didn't worry about it. And I went on with my life. And I got to 5 more years before it came back again at 25. This worst case scenario that was sort of alluded to back then was very much here. It was like, oh no, like it's here again, and faster this time and twice the size, like just sort of much more aggressively returning. So that was sort of another turning point where I had lasting deficits after that in terms of like just not being able to feel parts of my face, the side of my face and my head, and a lot of sort of rehabilitative to get my eyes working together again, and exercises and all that stuff, and some permanent nerve damage and things like that. But overall, again, thank God, benign, and they were able to get it all. And obviously the physical deficits, like appearance wise, were there, and at 25 that felt like a really big deal, because now my face was like hacked up, but I had a scar and all this stuff, and none of that was present in the first surgery. The first surgery was much less invasive, so I really did sort of make a full recovery. But the second one, there was sort of that lasting evidence, and I kind of went back and okay, now what? And he says, well, now we did the big worst case one, and you're good now. Like really, we got it all. Really, this time we got it all, and you're good. And just keep doing your rehab and your exercise and get everything back on track. And I think I was told the odds were like just over 1% or just over 1% that it would ever come back.
You can hear Rachel say it a few times as she tells this part of her story. It was benign. You're good. Move on. And as she's talking, I can feel it because I've lived it too. Be grateful. It could have been worse. You're alive. All of those phrases land like comfort and pressure. Relief wrapped in expectation. The quiet message that because the word benign is attached, the rest of what you're carrying shouldn't weigh so much. Rachel and I both know that feeling well. And I mention this because as our conversation unfolds, we begin to uncover something that doesn't get talked about enough. The guilt that can follow recovery. the guilt of struggling after survival, the guilt of naming loss when the outcome could have been worse. When you live through something like this, gratitude and grief don't arrive separately. They sit side by side, and learning how to hold both becomes part of the healing. We'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by Pure Energy Apothecary, a woman-owned skincare and wellness brand founded by my friend Dawn Lancaster. Dawn and I go way back, deep diving into essential oils. We shared a passion for creating intentional products, just like the ones Dawn continues to craft today with Pure Energy Apothecary. When Dawn said she wanted to offer you 20% off Pure Energy products, I was thrilled. Pure Energy products are handmade in Vermont with ingredients you can pronounce, and they smell amazing. They are rooted in real aromatherapy. Visit pureenergyvt.com and use the code PURECHANGE for 20% off just for being a part of the Change Happened community. Pure products, pure purpose, pure energy. Now, back to Rachel's story.
The interesting thing was I never talked about it. Like, I really just didn't touch on that at all. I sort of buried that all deep, and everything's fine, and I'm good, and you know what, that surgery could have gone a million different ways, and the fact that I came out with my eyesight and everything's intact and everything's good was really a cause for celebration. So I kind of ignored the fact that that whole period had shaken me up really badly, that the surgery, the after effects, I guess it was trauma that I had from it, and I didn't really realize that. I didn't know that. It wasn't labeled that way, you know, in any setting or anything, but I just sort of thought, what the heck do you have to be traumatized about? You got it out and everything's good, and, you know, it was benign, and life is good. It's gone. So, like, let's move forward. So I was just sort of ignoring the fact that I couldn't talk about it. It still shocks me that I can just sit here with you and have this conversation, because I don't know if anybody knows how much I really could not. I did not go there. So, like, I didn't even look in the mirror. I don't even look at my face in the mirror because I don't want to see the scar. Like, I just full avoidance was the pattern for so many years, and the narrative that I was repeating to myself too. You're not dead. You're not blind. You can still move about the world. You can see. You kept your eyeball. Like, because again, you go into those and there's so many things that could have gone so much worse. And it's interesting. I wonder if it's a woman thing or if it's just a human thing. I don't know, but we tend to
make me feel vain.
Yes, and we tend to compare, almost like pain is like trauma is a contest. Like I'm not entitled because other people's trauma is bigger. I'm not entitled to trauma is almost, I think, how it feels. Like you feel like you're complaining or you're whining, or because other people have it so much worse than you just feel wrong you feel like you're whining. And that's so true. And but that exact thinking is what stopped me from dealing with it. You're fine. It could have been worse, but then you're not fine, because at the end of the day, what happened still scared the crap out of you, and it was still really hard, and it was still really upsetting, and you had to get used to a whole new way of being, exactly, and a massive adjustment and a massive shift in your own self-identity, no matter what, right? I don't know you. I walk in a room and I know when people notice. They go, oh wow, half of her face doesn't really move right, and there's a scar there, and you know that they know it because most people are very bad at hiding it. It's so it's easy to, it's one thing to say, well, it could have been so much worse, but the reality is it's something that is with us every day forever. Even being, like we've talked about, that others have it so much worse, it gives you empathy for people who have way bigger challenges that they have to talk about. Like, it's a whole new perspective. I think what I've learned is it's okay that it's hard. Like we're allowed to say it was hard. And the thing is, as I think you shared with me, we are intensely grateful. I am grateful down to every cell of my body.
I want to be clear here, because this is a huge point. Like Rachel, I'm deeply grateful to be alive, grateful to have come through something terrifying and still be standing on the other side of it. The gratitude is real and genuine. However, what we've both learned is this: surviving something doesn't mean you're finished with it. When your body is changed, when your face, your balance, or the way you move through the world is no longer the same, it's okay to name that as trauma. Healing doesn't happen by pretending you're unchanged. It happens by allowing yourself to feel what we lost, even while being thankful for what remains. When trauma goes unacknowledged, physically, emotionally, or even spiritually, it doesn't disappear. It settles back into the body, and it has a way of resurfacing again and again until one day you're forced to look at it. And this is the moment that Rachel is approaching.
I was 36, so 11 years later, again, my normal annual scan, by that point, we're 11 years post, and it was just, this is routine. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, just go for this. Go back for the MRI. No big deal. And so I was completely floored to find that the report came back that it was returning. That was probably even more terrifying than when it happened when I was 25, because this time I just felt like I had so much more at stake. Like, I had a young daughter, and it was like, I can't go back there. And I think I just realized how much it had shaken me up, like when it came back full circle and I was back in that moment, it was like, oh, I'm not okay. Like, I'm not over this. It's not as okay as I've been thinking all this time, right? You kind of, it's easy to go along your way and pretend, but when it hits you back in the face, you kind of realize this really was like a huge fear of mine, a huge issue. Like, I was a nervous wreck. I was a mess. And my biggest question was, well, we already did the worst case scenario, like aggressive surgery, and now it's back. So, like, what are we gonna do now? We sort of just agreed, the surgeon and I, like, let's just keep an eye on it. No pun intended. Just keep an eye on it, and we'll see how it goes. We'll just keep rechecking it and sort of hope for the best here. And let's not jump too quickly. At that point, I am in a very sort of crossroads space in my professional life. I'd been home with my daughter, so she was getting into kindergarten. I was now turning my mind to what am I going to do in terms of going back to my career and picking up where I left off. And so I kind of knew that I couldn't go back, like, now being a mom and having been with my daughter and at home, like, full time for that period when she was very young. I knew I wasn't going to go back to what I had before, because it didn't feel like a fit for me now, like, with a young daughter. So I was really in this point of trying to figure out, am I going to go part-time? Am I going to consult? Am I going to get, I was putting the feelers out among, like, my former colleagues and trying to figure out where I was going to land. And now this result comes back with the tumor, and it just felt to me like a very now or never moment. Like, sometimes I say, like, it's the cartoon frying pan to the side of the head moment, where you're just like, okay, hold on, like, wait, I don't know now. Like, I don't want to jump back into this, I don't want to find this brand new job and figure out, like, a whole new structure to my day. And then I don't know if I'm going to need surgery in 3 months or a month or 6, it sort of just felt like a good time to just take a pause. And so I thought to myself, I'm not going to jump into anything career-wise right now, because I'm super preoccupied about, like, my health and what that holds. And I'm also just one of those, like, type A, like, if I'm going to make a commitment, I can't, like, let people down. So I was like, I can't start a new job not knowing what's happening. So we put everything on hold, and I talked to my husband about it, and he was super supportive, as he always is. And we agreed that I was going to take, like, a year off and just let the dust settle, figure out what was going on with the tumor situation, and try and do something that would get my mind off of all of these what ifs and all this wait and see, and something meaningful to me that I'd always wanted to do, which was to write. And I've always written on the side, or, in my own time, or in my own way, in all sorts of ways, because it's always been my passion, but it was always a sort of backseat thing, and it was always this far off, like, one day I'll have time and I'll really dedicate myself to it, and so here it was. This was the now or never. It felt like this now or never moment, where it just really catches up with you, and you think, oh my God, like, what if I don't have a chance? Like, what if we're done here? What if there's no chance to do that. So at that point, I'm 36. I let my job know, like let my let my network know, like, hey, I'm actually maybe not coming back. We're going to take a year here. Let's take another pause. And they were super great about it. And I enrolled in creative writing school. Started taking classes there, eager to give a shot to what I was passionate about, and also eager to just distract myself and just throw myself into something where I could get lost in it and not be thinking about what was, laying ahead for me. So I really enjoyed it. I was really determined not to write fiction, which is really interesting. I kind of went in there thinking, I love to write poetry, I love to write essay and memoir and any kind of, nonfiction. But fiction is not for me. I'm absolutely not doing fiction. I was very clear about that in the beginning. That's the one thing I'm not going to do, which is so funny. But it's exactly what I ended up doing. So yeah, I just sort of fell into it by accident, that I ended up working on a novel. And I joked with one of my instructors, like, I said I wasn't going to do fiction, but I think what I'm doing here is writing a book. Like, I'm into this, and it feels like I could make this into a book. And she says, yeah, I think you've got a book here, and I think you need to see where that goes. And so I was really unexpectedly dedicating my days. At this point, my daughter's in school now, and I have that chunk of time during the day to myself, and I'm dedicating all of that every second to writing what would eventually become my manuscript of my debut novel, Blue Iris. And I am experiencing something unlike anything I've ever experienced. It's almost like I'm in a trance. I have lost all sense of time. Like, I'm dropping my daughter off from school, and the whole day is gone. Like, I get back to my desk to sit down to write, and suddenly it's time to pick her up again, and I'm flying out the door, and I'm late because I have almost like entered into a whole other hypnosis or something of writing, and I haven't moved, I haven't eaten breakfast, I haven't gotten up from my chair. My fingers have just been flying, and it was just a really surreal, really cool experience, and it was unlike anything I've ever known. And I just thought to myself, okay, I certainly never expected that I would want to write fiction, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I have no idea if this is any good, or if I'm going to finish this book, or if this book totally sucks. I have no idea. But I do know that I've never felt this way, and I never want to stop. The days are just gone. Hours of chunks of time are just gone, and I just want to stay in it. And it was just a very magical thing, and so I did. I just stayed in it.
This time, Rachel is forced to slow down, forced into a pause she didn't ask for, forced to sit with the question of what actually makes her feel alive. And deep down, she already knows the answer, even if she doesn't yet know what it's supposed to look like. So she goes with the flow. She lets herself follow the thing that pulls her in so completely she loses track of time. Days slip by unnoticed. And I want to add and say this because it feels important. If you haven't found your thing yet, the thing that makes time disappear, I encourage you to look for it. And once you find it, figure out how to make space for it in your life. For me, that thing has always been sound. Since I was 13 years old, I knew I wanted to be a sound engineer. What that dream looked like back then is very different from what it looks like now, but the passion never left. When I'm in flow, the hours melt away, and that's how I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And this is why I connect so deeply with what Rachel is describing here. And there was one more thing going on. Rachel didn't realize at the time that something inside her was already shifting, quietly, on a cellular level, subtly. Change was happening, even before anyone could see it. Before we continue, I want to share something close to my heart. Dear Sweet One Lullabies. It's a custom lullaby made just for your child. Using their name, birth date, and whether they were born under the sun or moon, each story becomes a gentle audio keepsake filled with warmth and wonder, perfect for bedtime or just because. You can find Dear Sweet One on Etsy or at changehappenedpodcast.com. Now, back to Rachel's story.
the really big miracle for me was then I went and got my next round of scans. Again, this was interesting because the call came in at like 5 o'clock on a Saturday of a long weekend, which I've by now learned, like, oh God, that's not good, right? Like, they're calling me, that's not good. And so I'm bracing myself, and really it was just to tell me that I was fine and that the results had leveled out, the tumor had leveled out, it had stabilized, and there was this very curious, for me, note at the bottom of the report, which said that it actually looks like this tumor is getting smaller. In that moment, I just thought, I finally got it. This is why. Because all along I had, for that whole period after, I got those results that it was coming back, I kept thinking, why? Like, it has been 11 years, it has been in the clear, there's a 99% chance this is never coming back. Like, why is this thing back? What have I done? What am I doing wrong? Is it something I'm eating? Is it something I'm doing? You go through all these scenarios, and I kept just beating that question to death in my head. And I finally, in that moment, when I read that little note on the bottom that said that it was smaller, it just felt very clear to me in that moment that was the why. That was why all of this happened exactly when it did, to lead me to writing this book that has my whole heart, that showed me a space that is without a doubt where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing at a time in my life where I was trying to figure out what that next step was going to be. Like, it all just seemed, it brought my world crashing down at first, and then at that, at the other end of it, it was like it all seemed perfectly aligned and perfectly in sync with exactly how it was supposed to unfold. It was a very interesting reversal of how I'd been seeing it. All of a sudden it was like, oh, I get it, and I just knew at that point that everything up to that point had led me here, because at this point I just knew I'm not going back to my corporate job. I gotta stick with this. I gotta see it through. I've never felt like this, and I know that it feels right in a way that that you don't even know till you feel it. So for me, it just felt like my own little miracle, and I thought, this book is my own little miracle, and these characters that I've been hanging out with that have like taken over my head and my heart, that I was so determined in the beginning I wanted nothing to do with, really sort of stopped feeling like a choice at that point. It was like, no, this is what I have to do. I need to see this through.
That's when things begin to come into focus for Rachel. She starts to see clearly now that this is what she's meant to be doing, not just because she loves it, but because on some deeper level, it's healing her too. Now, I don't want to make this sound easy for her, because it wasn't. Rachel tells me it took nearly 5 years to finish the book, and getting it published was a whole nother mountain to climb. There were multiple rejections, countless revisions, more than a few moments where it would have been easier to stop. But she didn't. She stayed determined. She took every no and asked herself how to turn that into a yes, and eventually that persistence paid off. I still found myself a little curious about something else, though. Not just Rachel's determination, but her spiritual connection to both her healing and her work. You see, the book is called The Blue Iris. Blue, the color often associated with the third eye, and iris, a direct connection to the eye itself. And when those connections lined up so clearly, I couldn't help but wonder how much of that was conscious and how much of it emerged from somewhere deeper before Rachel even realized what she was creating.
You're blowing my mind. I never even thought about all these connections until now. That's so funny. Literally not even a clue. I'm floored right now. Like, never even occurred to me at all. Like, on the surface, the blue iris is the name of the flower market, but I've always thought of the blue iris as like the blue of Tessa's eye and her mother Beth's eye, who's looking over everything.
This part of our conversation fascinated me. Rachel is deeply intuitive, and now, after everything she's lived through, she trusts that intuition in a powerful way. It's something you've heard echoed by others on this podcast too. There's something that happens when we learn how to listen to that inner knowing, when we stop second-guessing it and start honoring it. Life feels freer then. Not always easier, but freer. I can tell you that firsthand. When you know something deep in your bones and you choose to act on it, there's a kind of liberation that's hard to put into words. It settles somewhere deep inside you. So as our conversation winds down, I ask Rachel, what makes her smile today?
My daughter, she makes me smile. She's all full of gorgeous light and positivity, and I don't know, she's got the most magical energy, and she just makes me smile. She just lights up the day.
I love that answer because I can relate to it 100%. So I asked her one last question. What piece of wisdom would she leave with you today?
Find the thing inside of you that makes time disappear and make room for it.
On that, Rachel and I are completely aligned. Rachel is a remarkable woman, one who inspired me in more ways than I ever expected. I truly hope her story inspires you too. Her novel, The Blue Iris, is one I've read more than once, just because I enjoyed it that much. In my opinion, it's a heartfelt, beautifully written love story, and it deserves a spot at the top of your reading list. You'll find all of Rachel's links in the show notes and at changehappenedpodcast.com. Rachel's story reminds us that change does happen, and when it does, you might just uncover your own then what moment. Change doesn't end the story. It's often where the next chapter begins. If something in today's episode stayed with you, a moment, a sentence, a feeling, I'd love to hear about it. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, consider sharing this episode with them. You're welcome to head to changehappenedpodcast.com to tell us what stayed with you from today's episode or any interview episode you listened to as part of the What Changed Me community drawing. Each time you share, you'll be entered into a Change Happened drawing. You can enter more than once. Every entry is also automatically included into our quarterly drawing for a special Change Happened Super Prize, whether you've won before or not, because these stories don't end where the episode does. They keep moving forward in what we carry with us and in who we pass them on to. Change Happened, Then What? Is written, edited, and produced by me, Heather Holt, with the loyal background support from my two sidekicks, Waylon and Dalton. Until next time, keep smiling, and maybe let your dog inspire your next big idea.
There's always a reason to always choose joy. There's something deeper that the world can't destroy. Smile when you think you can't. Smile, get up and dance. Smile, there's a bigger plan. The storm only lasts for a while. So smile.